everyone. Welcome back to the Bliss Essence. As you can see, today we are in a very cozy environment. This is my little spiritual corner for those of you who don't know me, which is a lot of you. And for those of you who do, you've seen this before. And so today I wanted to do a few things differently. I will be doing a reading at the end of this video. I'll be doing 3 types of different readings, and you can choose whichever one resonates with you, and we can go from there. But anyways, let's get started. Get your PJs on, get your tea ready, get comfortable. It's time to talk about some self-care, heartbreak, and whatever is going on in the air lately. So I've got my, I think it's blue butterfly tea. I forgot. Honestly, I'm gonna be honest with you, but I love the cup because as soon as it gets heated up, like, you can see the constellations, and yeah. So let's get started. If you've been feeling off lately, you're not going crazy. I'll tell you that. Especially when it comes to relationships. There's so many breakups going on right now. Personally, myself as well. And you are not alone. I would like to preface, you are not alone. To get some understanding on what's going on, Venus is currently retrograde in Aries. And if you've noticed some emotional turbulence, if, you've been noticing, breakups, unexpected shifts in your love life, or even in friendships or family members, it's expected, especially given that there was also a lunar eclipse in Virgo this weekend. And that's a lot of intense energy at once. We have a Venus retrograde in Aries, which impacts your love life, right? Mercury retrograde just started in Aries, which impacts your communication. And the lunar eclipse in Virgo is bringing insight on what is not working in your life and what is, and asking you to take a step back and rethink your personal approach to life. That being said, it can be a lot. I totally get it. So today we're going to dive into how this retrograde is affecting us all and how we can heal emotionally through astrology and psychology. Plus, I'll share some manifestation tips that'll help you focus more on self-love during this time. So let's get started. Okay. I also want to make sure that this is more of a fun and interactive. So in the moment, I'm going to pull 3 tarot cards for you to choose. You can pick a number between 1, 2, or 3. I suggest you pick it now because by the end of the video, there will be a reading, and you might as well just go to the reading with the number that you picked. I will be putting timestamps in the comments below. All right. So let's get started. All right, now let's talk about astrology. To get into what's going on right now, first of all, if you guys have been going through a tough time, comment down below, especially if you're an Aries, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Virgo, Libra. Those main placements are big ones that are getting impacted. Even Gemini. Yeah, even Gemini. Comment down below. Share your story if you're comfortable. And also know that you're not going crazy. It's really just the stars this time. Really, this time, it's just the stars. And it's a lot. It's very heavy energy. It's very unexpected energy. And it can test a lot of us right now during this time. So you're not alone. You're not alone. Just remember that. So, to kind of know, we all hear the word retrograde, and we're usually like, oh, okay, like something's happening, but we don't know what it is, right? To give you some insight on what a retrograde is, it's when, from the Earth's perspective, the planet is going backwards. I say from the Earth's perspective because that's where we are. And that being said, when it is in Venus, so Venus is actually the planet of love, beauty, and relationships. Great, right? So great. However, when it is going in retrograde, it can highlight a lot of issues that we may not have seen because we're wearing rose-colored glasses. And that can kind of provide this like reflection. Like imagine you're standing, like you have been avoiding looking at a mirror all day regarding your relationship, regarding your career, and Venus goes in retrograde, and all of a sudden Venus is like, no, look at this, look at this problem, look at what's going on, look at this person who's not treating you well. So there's a lot of breakups going on for valid reasons, rightfully so. And that doesn't mean it's not tough, I will say. It's a time when all the issues that you've been avoiding regarding heartbreak, unresolved arguments, like past heartbreaks, exes, anything, it's going to come out. And that's why everybody's feeling a little bit more emotional. And even relationships like are under a magnifying glass. This is why it's important to also consider the sign that Venus is in. It's in Aries. As an Aries who is used to this energy, this is getting a lot from me too, guys. I just personally, I love a good fire energy. Don't get me wrong. I love Aries season with all my heart. At the same time, I will attest and I will say this is a lot, even for an Aries. This is too much, in fact, even for an Aries. So to kind of understand, okay, yes, Venus is in Aries. What does that mean? Okay, the planet of love is in Aries. It's going retrograde. It's going to show us what unresolved stuff is, but how is it going to show us? And that is where Aries comes into play. So Aries, being a fire sign, adds a little bit more heat, impulsivity, and anger to the situation. So it can stir up impulsive feelings. You like fiery arguments during this time. Maybe breakups happened due to impulsivity, due to heated emotions, due to being very overwhelmed and being like, okay, the only thing is to just kind of leave it, right? That is Aries energy. It's very impulsive. And yes, those situations can also, in fact, lead to breakups. But here's the thing, right? Venus retrograde isn't necessarily all bad. I know that it sounds very nerve-wracking. If you're in a relationship and, things are rocky, do not worry. If nothing has happened in your relationship so far and there are things rocky everywhere, like it clearly isn't impacting your love life. But regardless, something to consider is that Venus in retrograde gives us a chance to evaluate our relationships and let go of people who are not treating us the way that we deserve. So maybe you're in a relationship with somebody who, you've been getting in arguments all the time and you're like trying and you're like, hey, like, I need this from you. Can you please? And then all of a sudden they break up. It's because even though you might want that individual, Venus in retrograde, especially in Aries, is like, Because Aries is not slow energy. It's like, this is not working, bye. This is not doing it, no. It will throw it out. Aries is very impulsive, straight to the point, like honest, like here I am, I'm ready to do it, just do. So that's why it can be a lot. It can be very abrupt, especially for earth signs and even water signs, honestly, because this is very new energy, right? And so if you've been going through a breakup or feeling distant from someone, it's actually a good time for emotional clearing. That's totally okay. That doesn't mean it's not hard. It's tough. And maybe there's certain things happening right now that you don't want to happen. But trust me, there is a reason. I know. It is annoying to hear, but there is a reason. Now, now that we've covered a little bit about like our astrology, let's go into more of like the psychology aspect of heartbreak. So now let's talk about healing from an heartbreak from a psychological perspective. When we experience something so emotional, so painful, so heart-wrenching, like a breakup or a relationship struggle or even any sort of grief or any sort of trauma, right? It can be a lot on your body. Not just your mind, but your physical body. Like when, there's a reason why broken heart syndrome, exists. If I'm wrong, feel free to correct me in the comments. And it can literally feel like somebody punched you in the gut or like ripped your heart out, right? I get it. I get it. And I'm here to tell you that that feeling is not just you. It is a feeling that many of us, at least once in our lifetimes, will experience, as much as I hate to say it, right? No matter how privileged you are, no matter how much you try to protect yourself, it's just getting hurt is something that unfortunately in this life is unavoidable. How you deal with that hurt or how you choose to approach it, that is something that you can control. So, that being said, what's important is that we don't get stuck in that emotional pain, because if you're stuck in that emotional pain, you are constantly going to feel like you're suffering every single day. And I'm not saying that that doesn't happen in the first few weeks, even months of a breakup, but at the same time, at some point, it is time to let go. So, which is where you go into emotional processing, right? So, allowing yourself to feel all the feelings, but also taking the steps to heal. This is my personal opinion, what I'm about to say, but again, people can disagree. I personally feel like, just like, a lot of individuals go through addiction to social media, or I don't know, if somebody's addicted to coffee, I would not compare it to severe addictions. That's a completely different streamline of things. But the reason I'm talking about this is because just like that, your brain has developed this habit of being with this person, talking to this person every day, and just being in connection with this person every day. And all of a sudden you are told, like, okay, no more, or you've decided no more, right? And your brain all of a sudden and body don't know what to do. They're like, what do you mean? Like, I am so used to thinking about this person. I'm so used to doing things with this person. I'm so used to sleeping next to this person. I'm so used to, like, checking in on this person. Like, what do you mean? That's the same thing. Your body is used to what is familiar. And if, say, for the past 5 years, it has been this one individual who's very familiar to you, no wonder when it goes away, you're like, what just happened? I feel like the rug got pulled under me. Like, I can't do anything. It's because your body has developed a habit of thinking like this. Your brain's developed a habit of thinking like this. And just like it takes, I want to say 30 days to 90 days to develop a habit, it also takes at least 30 to 90 days. I say at least because it can take more. To stray away from that habit. It's like your brain is addicted to this person, is used to this person. And no wonder when you don't have access to this person anymore, without choice or with choice, right? It feels weird. It feels wrong because your heart and your brain are so used to the familiar. It's the same thing as, like, when somebody's grown up in chaos, seeing a healthy relationship might feel weird, might feel uncomfortable, right? Because what is familiar to your body? Chaos. So that is something to consider when you're healing through this process. I would say consider it as, like, okay, I'm going through withdrawals. Obviously, I'm going to get mad. Obviously, I'm going to want to reach out. Obviously, I'm going to want to, like see where they are, what they're doing, blah, blah, blah. At the same time, it is also important that you don't feed that addiction when it's not healthy. So, that being said, in my experience, I personally knew, I know the way that my brain works. I know that, and this is most people, it's not just me. Like, I know that most people, after, like, say a breakup, or, like, say a situationship ended or something like that, right? Your first instinct is like, okay, I don't want to let go of any connection because, like, I already lost the physical access to this person. Like, let me have the social media, let me have, like, the memories, the gifts, whatever, right? But in a manner of speaking, those things are going to probably be feeding your addiction. And this, I'm only talking from a pure psychological perspective. From, like, a manifestation perspective, I have a different outlook on that. But if you have decided, like, I want to heal from this heartbreak, like, this clearly is not the relationship for me, right? You have to understand that, okay, like, you have to remove things in your environment that are going to feed this addiction. Like, you don't see a person who's struggles with substance use actively wants to heal, right? Who wants to stop, right? Actively going to a bar every single day. That's not to say that they won't end up in a situation where they might be tested, but that's usually not the way to go. Like, if you're trying to remove yourself out of that. So that's the same thing. If you're trying to remove yourself out of that, you kind of have to throw away the notes. So personally, for me, this may sound abrupt to somebody else, but for me, the moment the breakup occurred, I was like, okay, gotta throw away everything, gotta throw away notes, cards, everything, anything, even like removing social media access, everything. I will say I did not remove access on my phone, but then after a while I was like, okay, we're done here. So, yeah, and I understand that it takes a while to get your body there. But the reason I personally would say is like do it the day of, or like do it abruptly, is because it doesn't give your brain a chance to think. It just is like, which is very Aries energy, I will say. Like, that is very Aries of me as well. It's like, I was like, I do not want any reason for my brain to even like grasp onto this hope, because I'm sure as many of you may have experienced. If not, that's also okay. But, or even have friends that have been like stalking exes on social media, or like, I don't know, like looking out to see, oh, if I run into this person, or things like that. And don't get me wrong, been there, done that. It can be very mentally tiring. So this time around, I just felt like, it's time to cut it off. Like, anything that would feed my quote unquote addiction to this person needs to go away. That means throwing away flowers, throwing away notes, throwing away any clothing, that either giving back the clothing or throwing it away, right? Any kind of reminder, unfollow them, please, unshare your locations. You are not gonna want to see this. I'm telling you right now. Like, because either it's just gonna sit there and that's the only, you're just looking at your phone, looking at where this person is, and say this person decides to move on, say this person decides to make some interesting decisions. That is not going to help you heal further, if I'm being honest. And I'm not, as a person who's currently going through a breakup, I'm saying this as is. Like, I say this stuff to myself. I know it's easier said than done, but I would tell you, if there is one moment in your, like, day where you're like, you know what, I can do this, throw it all away. Use that moment to throw every single thing away, unblock, block, whatever, do everything. Because once you're in your vulnerable moment, as much as you're going to want to, say, post something to show off, well, you can't, because you already removed them off your Instagram. So that's where, at your vulnerable moments, you won't be able to give into your quote-unquote addiction. That is something to really keep in mind. Another thing I would like to also preface is that I know it can be tempting to dwell in the sadness and anger after a breakup. And trust me, it's okay to grieve. You're grieving a literal person, even though they may not have, been dead. You're still grieving a human being, because they're physically not in your life anymore. And that's okay. Personally, for me, journaling works. For some people, audio diaries work, video diaries works, talking to a therapist, talking to friends. Like, having that support system is really important for the moments where you're, like, starting to feel that pit feeling in your stomach, the anxiety, the sadness, the gut-wrenching feeling. Those are the times you go talk or write down or release or cry, because it is important to release. You cannot manifest something in unless you have released those emotions. It's important to release first, always. I always say this, and I'm going to say it here as well. Always release before you call in something, because you never know, like, what limiting beliefs, what pain, trauma your body is storing. It is really important to release. And also, like, same thing, like, you are not going to add more furniture into a house that already has furniture in it, or like a lot of stuff. You're gonna have to remove something to kind of, if you're gonna renovate or remodel or redecorate your house, you're gonna have to remove some stuff to get the new stuff in. That's basically it, right? So you have to remember that as much as tempting as it is to reminisce in the nostalgia, because that's the only thing your brain has to connect, it is also important to take care of your mental health during this time. One thing that really helps is acknowledging your emotions without judgment. It's okay if you, even if they treated you badly and you still miss them, it's okay. You just need to acknowledge that. Because if you keep pushing that away, then you're not releasing it. You can release that after you have acknowledged it, and then call in like, hey, next time, like, I'm gonna like allow only people who treat me well. Those are some things to consider. And instead of saying, oh, I shouldn't be feeling this way, try saying it's okay to feel this way. Allow yourself to feel hurt, but also don't let it consume you, right? So my personal thing is, like, I would say, if you can, obviously the first 2 weeks are hard, which is why I always say, even on our Instagram, it says that inform people. Even, like, and I say inform, like, I cannot stress this enough. No matter, even if you end up being fine, I would say inform people at work, inform people in your life, because they are more likely to be understanding once you've informed them than if you don't, because they won't know what's going on and why you've been off, and why you're not able to make a certain commitment. You need to inform people. And I get it that can be hard, but trust me, it makes life so much easier, because again, you're sharing that burden, you're not keeping it to yourself. And that's something to keep in mind, and that will also help you not let it consume. So now that we've kind of talked a little bit about the psychological aspect of things, I want to transition into the manifestation. So, let's see. Here's where manifestation comes into play. So once you've sat down and you're like, okay, I'm going to write down all my beliefs, and you can set aside like maybe an hour or two a day, after you're like, okay, the first 2 weeks, like, it's taking more time. Like, after that, like, you're like, I gotta get stuff done. Like, I can't be, sitting around all day like this. Set aside an hour right before bed or in the morning or whatever, right? Like, where you're like, okay, I'm going to set aside this hour, like, for, I don't know, 20 minutes, I'm going to, like, just release. And then the other, like, math, 40. 40 minutes, is like first say manifestation, or half and half, whatever you need. Personally, I would always say do 30-30, because I feel like that's the equivalent amount of time. But once you have sat down, you've cried about it, written down, released, I would even say, like, if you're gonna write down certain beliefs, burn them, let them go. That's the best way to release things, right? Cleanse your energy. That's a big one as well. After you've released, cleanse your energy, and then we call in self-love. So even though, now going back to the astrology aspect, even though Venus is in retrograde and it can stir up a lot of emotional energy, it also an opportunity to manifest some healing regarding self-love. Venus is the planet of love and relationships, and though it is in retrograde, that doesn't mean that you can't pour from an empty, like, you can't pour more water into your empty cup. Now, you can't, speaking of which, like, I've got this little teacup, right? It clearly has water in it. I mean, tea in it, water, guys. And that's great, because when I pour it, it's gonna fall, it's gonna spill. And the reason I'm even holding this cup is because I'm enjoying the tea. But if I have an empty cup, do you think I'd be sitting here drinking this? Because there's nothing to drink. Exactly. Fill your cup. Yes, that person, this breakup, whatever situation has this Venus retrograde has brought in your life, this lunar eclipse has brought in your life, yes, it is going to drain your energy. It's going to drain your cup. But it's time to pour more stuff into it. So, one manifesting tip I swear by is definitely focusing on emotional healing. My biggest thing is self-love affirmations and meditations. I know sometimes it can be hard, so you do need to center yourself a little bit. I would always say that start off with like grounding. Even if you're at work, right, and you're like, okay, like I can't like sit here and meditate in front of other people, you can do a little breathing exercise. Sometimes at work I'll just be like doing my paperwork and I'll be like and just for 10 minutes, and you will start to feel your body like regulate a little bit. Once you've done that, that's when you call in, as I said, your self-love affirmations. It can be, I am worthy of love, I'm enough, I deserve love, I deserve to be loved. It doesn't, like, there are many factors, right? Different people might have different situations. And so based on that, I would also recommend, before you do this exercise, write down some of the things. In my previous video, I talked about some limiting beliefs, right? Writing down limiting beliefs and then negating and writing the opposite. I would say do the same here, right? Like, if you know what are your like limiting beliefs, like, oh, you know, nobody's gonna love me, or like, I'm hard to love. No, switch it up. Okay, yes, release those thoughts, right? Release the limiting beliefs, but then after that, be like, no, I am easy to love regardless of, say, even some people, like for some people it's like mental health is like a big factor, right? So I'm easy to love regardless of my mental health. I deserve love no matter what. Like, you as a human deserve love because you are human. It's simple as that. And love is a basic right that I feel like everyone should be able to access. And love doesn't always have to come from externally. Like, when you feel that love, something to remember is that that feeling that person, like, generated, if that's in a relationship or whatever it is, right? It was within you. That person didn't, like, create it and be like, here you go. No. You generated that feeling in your heart. And though right now it may not be there, it can generate again. And so I would definitely say, again, like, even use a mirror. Mirror is, like, a big thing. Like, trust me, the small act can shift. I know so many people are like, yeah, just say affirmations, blah, blah. I was like that, too. And I will tell you right now that I literally, like, started saying affirmations. I was like, fine, like, I'll just commit to it for, like, a month. And I could see that indirectly how it was impacting my life. I could see that when, like, hardships were coming, like, I was less reactive, less anxious, less scared the moment I started doing the affirmations, because that's who I was becoming. That's I was telling my brain, and that's what my brain was picking up on, and that's who I was becoming. So yeah, so another thing is, like, while you're doing this, I always say, like, if you're saying affirmations, connect with your heart. Put your hand on your heart when you're saying affirmations, like, I am worthy of love, I deserve to be loved, I am love. Everyone around, everywhere I go, love is there. You know, everything I do consists of love. But that physical connection, you'd be surprised how much you can feel it already. And if you're feeling extra called to something practical, I would say even do a little ritual, right, where you write a letter to your past relationship or the situation. But here's the key: you don't always need to send it. For some people, if you need to send it, fine. For me, I was like, okay, you know what, I need to send it, so I sent it. But that was also because it was immediately after my breakup. Now, I don't know if I would send it. Like, if it's, like, been 3-4 years or, like, few months, I would say at that point, don't send it. You can either, like, you can just burn it, as I said earlier. So if you're feeling really great, write a letter to that person. Write all your thoughts, like, every anger, sadness, happiness, disappointment, anything, you know, even love. Write it, burn it, release it, and make space for new things. All right, guys, I've been talking for so long. It is time to do our readings. So I am going to just pull out one card for each person and go from there and see. I usually will use my intuition at first, and then I will go to their actual meanings just in case both resonate. So if you picked number 1, this is your reading. Oh, that card came out fast. We have got Eight of Coins. From what I'm getting is, if you chose number one, that you've been thinking about ideas on how to maybe progress in your career, how to make more money, how to become more stable, and you have these ideas, but you may not know how to do them yet, right? That being said, the biggest thing here would be to kind of start doing some research. I would say that's the biggest one. Even the actual meaning of this is apprenticeship, employment, planning, calculating, ambition, right? So I would say, like, if you are like, okay, I really want to say you're like, everything's falling apart, whatever, but maybe it's your job, right now, go start looking for jobs. Do not settle for less. Write down what you want. As I said, right? Write down what you want in your ideal job. Sit down, start looking for jobs. Start looking for employment that you feel like would resonate with you and your personality and your soul more than the one that is going on. Again, like I said, I'm just doing them as is. So for you, it's just mainly you've some ideas, but you don't know where to get started. Starting point is to research different positions and look on maybe Indeed or like even titles, so you kind of know what kind of position you're looking for. So that's number one. All right, if you have number two, this is your reading. Let's see. Ooh. Okay, we've got Four of Swords. So what this is giving is, this gives me more of like a love undertone, a relationship undertone, where there is some dissonance or divide between between two people. That's not to say love doesn't exist, but there is a lot of harsh words already said, and it just feels like there's no coming back from it. That's what it feels like. I have no idea what would happen. Let me go look at the actual definition. It says mental security, retreat, rest, peace. So I think with that being said, maybe this is the time for whoever this is, to be separated from this person. Not because anything's wrong with the other. The connection is still there from what I'm getting at. It just means that, like, both these individuals need to be separated to kind of learn, to be humbled, learn how to communicate in a softer manner so that you can create something beautiful. But right now, these sharp edges, like these fighting arguments, are not doing it. And that's why Venus in Aries has intervened. So take rest, relax, take your time. It is okay. And I know that so many people hate that sometimes, the time thing. I mean, as an Aries, I'm not patient. But if you can, just for the next week, try to do self-care every single day and then go from there. All right, if you are number 3, let's see what we've got for you. Ooh, okay. 3 is 9 of Swords. Let's see what I'm getting. There's a lot of overthinking going on here. There's a lot of crying is what I'm getting as well. Even though this is an air-like card, it's giving very emotional, feeling like you're being hit from all areas of life and you just don't know what to do, right? Let's go look at the meaning. Okay, so it says busy mind, suspicion, fear. But also, this also means good faith, third eye. So I would suggest that if there's a lot going through your brain right now, this is one of the the readings where I would tell you to get some grounding stones. Like something like maybe an obsidian, right? Or there's a lot of like grounding stones, I would say. Like even a tiger's eye would be like the best call here. And I would say the breathing exercise for this person is going to be really helpful. Grounding exercises. look up grounding exercises, look up meditations that will help you be grounded, because that's going to be a big thing. And then after that, I would suggest you start connecting with your intuition, trying to trust your gut, because you've been having a really hard time trusting your gut from what I'm getting at. But it's time. It's time. So it can be as small as, like, you know, deciding whether you should go to an event or not and just trusting it. Or, like, maybe, like, a food choice that you're like, oh, I should have this for dinner instead of that. And slowly build that up to bigger decisions. So that is our readings for today. Thank you so much for watching. And please check out our website, theblissessence.co, and follow us on Instagram, The Bliss Essence, and our TikTok, The Bliss Essence LLC. And I will see you next week.